Picture this, a civilization renowned for its pyramids and calendars, suddenly vanishing into the jungle. The Mayans didn't just disappear, they were undone by a perfect storm of nature's fury and their own doing. Imagine severe droughts, crowded cities, forests cut down for farming, constant battles between city-states and trade routes drying up. This is the real story of how the Mayan Empire crumbled, not from divine intervention, but from a lethal combination of climate change and human missteps. Let's explore how this ancient society's end holds lessons for us today. The Mayans were nothing short of incredible, thriving in Mesoamerica from about 2000 BC until the 1500s. They crafted one of the most complex writing systems of their time, using hieroglyphs to tell stories, document history, and explore science. Their grasp of astronomy was mind-blowing. They calculated solar and lunar cycles with precision, even predicting eclipses. They built awe-inspiring structures, pyramids, temples, and palaces that still stand as a testament to their engineering prowess and math skills. Their calendar was so accurate, it's still relevant today. In farming, they were innovators, using methods like terracing to farm in tough terrains. Mayan art, from pottery to murals, burst with life and culture. They had a sophisticated political setup with city-states, each led by its own ruler. The Mayans' legacy shows us the heights of human achievement amidst nature's challenges.
Drought played a huge role in the downfall of the Mayan civilization, according to recent research. The Mayans depended heavily on rain for their crops, so when the rains didn't come, they were in big trouble. Studies of lake beds, tree rings, and caves show there were some brutal dry spells around the 8th to 10th centuries. These droughts meant crops failed, leading to food shortages and hunger. This likely fueled social chaos and led to people abandoning their cities. Essentially, the lack of water wasn't something their sophisticated society could handle, showing just how fragile even advanced civilizations can be when the climate turns against them.
The Mayans' intensive farming practices, particularly their need to clear vast areas of forest for agriculture, played a significant role in their environmental downfall. By chopping down trees, they inadvertently worsened the effects of droughts. Forests act like natural sponges, holding water and releasing it slowly, but without them, the land became less capable of retaining moisture. This deforestation led to a vicious cycle. With less forest cover, there was less rainfall, and the ground dried out even faster during droughts. This not only made water scarcer, but also increased soil erosion, reducing the fertility of the land they so desperately needed for farming. Essentially, the Mayans' agricultural success sowed the seeds of their environmental degradation, making their civilization more vulnerable to the droughts that contributed to its collapse.
The Mayan civilization's large population put a massive strain on their food resources, making them particularly vulnerable when drought hit. With so many mouths to feed, any dip in crop yields due to insufficient rain could spell disaster. Their society had grown to a point where even slight disruptions in agriculture led to significant problems. Food shortages became more common as the population outgrew what their farming techniques could reliably produce, especially in tough times. This pressure on food supplies not only led to malnutrition but also sparked social tensions. When the rains failed, there was simply not enough to go around, exacerbating the impact of droughts and contributing to the unraveling of their society. Essentially, the more people there were, the less room for error in their farming, making their entire civilization a house of cards in the face of environmental stress. Political instability and warfare were major nails in the coffin for the Mayan civilization. The different city-states often clashed, and with resources becoming scarcer, these conflicts only intensified. Imagine living in a time where your neighbors could become your enemies over the next water source or fertile land. These battles drained resources, manpower, and morale. Instead of uniting against common threats like drought or food shortages, the Mayans were divided, fighting amongst themselves. This internal strife weakened the societal structure, making it harder to respond to crises. When food was scarce and water even scarcer, the last thing you needed was war, but that's exactly what they got. This constant state of conflict contributed significantly to the overall breakdown of Mayan society, turning a once vibrant civilization into one on the brink of collapse. The shifting of trade routes was like pulling the rug out from under some Mayan regions. Their economy was intricately linked with trade, where goods like cacao, jade, and obsidian moved between cities. When these trade routes changed, possibly due to political alliances shifting or environmental challenges, it left some areas economically stranded. Imagine your city's main source of wealth drying up overnight because the trade paths that once brought prosperity now bypass you. This economic isolation would have hit hard, reducing access to essential goods and weakening the political and social structures of affected regions. As trade dwindled, so did the power and influence of these cities, adding another layer of stress to an already fragile society. The inability to adapt or find new trade partners could have been the final straw for some Mayan communities, pushing them towards decline. When we talk about the Maya collapse between AD 800 and 1000, it's easy to conjure up images of once great cities swallowed by jungle, silent and abandoned. But the reality of what happened to the Maya civilization is far more nuanced and complex than those dramatic, post-apocalyptic scenes. Countless studies have pointed to this period as a time of significant upheaval for the Maya. However, instead of a single, cataclysmic event leading to their downfall, it was more like a slow unraveling influenced by a host of interconnected factors. First off, the Maya didn't just vanish. Their collapse is better described as a transformation or decentralization. Many Maya people continued to live in the region, adapting and surviving in different ways. What we see as a collapse was more about the decline of the centralized classic Maya city-states with their elaborate political systems, monumental architecture, and complex calendrical and astronomical knowledge. One major factor was drought. Evidence from various environmental records like tree rings and lake sediment cores suggests severe, prolonged droughts hit the region, devastating the rain-dependent agriculture of the Maya. This would have led to food shortages, which in turn could have caused social unrest, migrations, and the abandonment of some cities. Then there's environmental degradation. The Maya's intensive agricultural practices, including deforestation for farming, led to soil erosion and a decrease in water retention, making the land even more vulnerable to drought. Overpopulation played its part too. The population had grown significantly, putting immense pressure on resources. When food became scarce, this could have led to conflicts, migrations, or both, further destabilizing society. Political instability and warfare among city-states likely exacerbated the situation. Competition for dwindling resources might have fueled conflicts, diverting resources from survival to warfare. Lastly, changes in trade routes meant some regions lost their economic backbone, leading to a power vacuum or economic decline in those areas. So while the term Maya collapse paints a picture of a civilization suddenly disappearing, the truth is more about a gradual shift, where some aspects of Mayan society faded or transformed, while the culture itself persisted, adapting to new conditions. This complex, multifaceted decline teaches us about resilience, adaptation, and the intricate dance between human societies and their environments.